What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 date. About 1:24 p.m. West Coast time. What do we got here? We got a 1.4 earthquake into the area of California. We are seeing a pretty good swarm of activity out there around the Antelope Valley region of California. So let's go ahead and check out the latest activity here on the USGS map. Pulling up that graph right now. Seen some activity off the coast of Oregon, Northern California area as well. Back behind the Cascadia subduction zone, showing some movement overnight, including this earthquake right here, 4.3, kind of out there around the Gorda Ridges. So a little increase in pressure out here. Also, down here in the Antelope Valley area, now this is just a 2.5 and above map, and we got 11 earthquakes. So far, the largest looks to be the 4.5 that struck yesterday. Since then, we've seen quite a few 2s and 3s in the mix, and when we bring up the all magnitudes map here, it really explodes in terms of the multitude of quakes here. Looking at about 68 earthquakes now within the last 24 hours. Again, the largest quake, a 4.5 in this cluster. That's a pretty good uptick in earthquake activity in a short amount of time. Of course, this region did see this 6.0 last year. Looks like around the July 8th time frame. Although, if you look here, it kind of looks like it's off center a little bit from where this 6-pointer struck. So we definitely got something brewing out there in that area, possibly looking at maybe some further larger scale movement than the 4.5 that we just seen yesterday. So just a heads up, keep your guard up on this area, the Antelope Valley region. Also down here further south into Southern California area, getting a little bit more in terms of microquake activity up here north of the Garlock Fault shear zone. Notice this line of activity here stretching across the region, right around the White Wolf Fault zone, and stretching over to areas here to the east around the Ridgecrest region. Mostly microquakes in that area. If we pull up the 2.5 and above map only, technically all the activity was confined up north or to the Antelope Valley area in terms of that magnitude. So yeah, further south here, San Jacinto Fault Zone, a little active today as well. Getting a little bit of activity across the Imperial Fault and the Brawley Seismic Zone extension here. Little area where they kind of branch off. Looks like a 1.6 and a 1.5 near the Brawley, California region. Nothing big, but might be an area to watch pretty closely for some swarming. Into the Pacific Northwest, things a little on the quiet side. Just a couple small microquakes throughout the region and a little scattered activity around the rest of the country. If we look across the map here, the only area of notice here, of interest right now, is around the Pecos, Texas region. Seen about 5 or 6 earthquakes here around this area of Texas. Nothing big now, but looks like that swarm's coming back there to the region. One earthquake here around Tiptonville, Tennessee. This one came in from a last night time frame, a little 2.1. We haven't seen any further activity though since that earthquake last night. Same for the South Carolina region as well. This is this one here looks like it kicked up overnight in the region of the Boykin, South Carolina area, just outside of the Elgin region. A little 1.6 in the mix there in the swarming area that we've noted there over the past couple months. Out here around the Chile area, let me bring up the newest earthquakes here first. Still seeing a pretty good swarm of activity out here on the southwestern portion. We've been watching this over the last couple days or so. It's been building up pretty nicely. We got about 200 earthquakes or so within the last week of this area of Puerto Rico. These swarms come and go due to the subduction zone to the north and to the south, kind of putting a little squeeze on the Puerto Rico area. Again, those squeezes can turn into some bigger hugs in terms of bigger earthquakes, so we got to be observant of what goes on out there with those swarms. Having a pretty good little bump of earthquake activity off the coast of Chile in the Chile Rise area. It looks like 5.1, also 5.7 kicking off earlier this morning in this region. So watch this area pretty closely. These are not a subduction zone here. These are more divergent boundaries But as you go over here to the east, of course, we got that major subduction zone, the Peru-Chile Trench, that we got to watch pretty closely. So considering this movement here, we might want to keep an eye on the coast here of the South America region. One earthquake last night into the South Sandwich Trench area. Not a whole lot going on through the Atlantic. Up north here, we did have a 4.4 in the northern mid-Atlantic ridge overnight. Not a big earthquake by any means, but a little activity. Also noticing a little bit of spreading out of the multitude of quakes here across the Aleutian Trench. Been watching that pretty closely. Nothing big yet, but it is starting to make a little notice here on the map for earthquake activity spreading out there. Hawaii, only 10 earthquakes. That's kind of a very minimal number. Nothing really going on or to take note of there on the Big Island. A little bit of activity across the Banda Sea region. That one from last night, it looks like. Or actually earlier this morning, 5.6. A couple other smaller quakes here across the region of the Java Trench. Although I think we still need to watch this area, North American Plate, South America region, and the Nazca Plate. Potentially these little plates in between as well, Caribbean and the Cocos Plate there, need to be watched pretty closely unless we see some major movement westward here of the Pacific Plate. Right now these areas are definitely showing some heightened activity, and those should be the areas we need to watch pretty closely until we see some further large-scale movement over here around the Philippine Plate, Coral Kamchatka Trench, or possibly some deeper large-scale movement here in the Fiji Islands area. We've seen a couple in the last 24 hours here, 4.4 and a 4.8, pretty deep, but I don't think that's sufficient enough to put that temporary band-aid out here along the areas of the Eastern Pacific and adjacent plates here. Yellowstone National Park, looks like that swarming has kind of halted off there a little bit. Not a whole lot to report here. Still seeing a couple very small microquakes overnight and this morning time frame. Seeing that listed here on the map, but overall no major intense seismic swarm to take note of there at Yellowstone National Park. Let's see what we got for space weather. I know we're still lighting up the aurora forecast a little bit there on the live stream. We've been pretty consistent with the KP indexes. They're up around the 4 range over the past 24 hours or so. So that could continue. Looks like it is forecasted here over to looks like tonight time frame, and then kind of mellowing out a little bit around the August 11th time frame there. So maybe potentially at the higher latitudes you guys are going to get another show up there. We'll see how that develops once it gets dark, right? Let's see, no major solar flares to report. Coronal holes are now moving away from the Earth side, which will kind of halt the solar weather activity for a little bit in terms of the geomagnetic forecast. The sunspots again look pretty minimal, folks. There's not a whole lot of awesome development. Yes, we do have some newer sunspots here on the disk, but they're not all that crazy looking in terms of producing anything significant. So, all right, guys, have a good day. Stay safe out there. Just gonna kick back here and enjoy the cooler temperatures. By cooler, I mean 98 degrees. That's not bad. A lot better than 109 degrees here in California. So we'll take the upper 90s, I suppose. Have a good day, folks. We'll catch you a little bit later tonight. Peace out.